Morning, afternoon, evening, depending on when you're watching this. Welcome to my studio, my little corner of the internet. I'm in Somerset and progress has been slow on my monkey. I think as the world continues to go crazy, it's leaving me feeling very ungrounded and it's very challenging at the moment. And I can't help thinking how much better the world would be if everybody had a creative hobby of some kind. There's so much research that indicates how beneficial it is, but how do we get everybody to be engaging in something creative? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Bit of a big opening statement, but it's one of the things that's on my mind among many other things. But I do want to keep these videos positive and upbeat, but also recognizing there's a lot going on. Yeah. So back to the progress of the monkey. We'll segue into that after that statement. I had hoped to have finished Monkey's tunic and done the video and everything by this update, but that hasn't happened. There's been a number of reasons. The monkey, so here's my little monkey, and I am making him into this character from the 1970s TV series, which I'm sure lots of you will recognise, and suddenly you'll hear the word monkey in your head. And I've done a sketch of the outfit and I'm going to do it, and I got really far and I started on the tunic, but it didn't quite go as planned because I had to redo some parts of it and then I wasn't quite happy with it. So all I've made so far is the back of the jacket and one sleeve. What I did with the black, because I found it really tricky doing the black, I did this section first and then I added the black on afterwards, which I think worked okay. But after I did these, I had a bit of a break away from it because I was feeling, it wasn't kind of going the way I was hoping it was going. So I thought I'll put that to the side for the moment and then come back to it. So that's what I ended up doing. So the jacket will, because it needs to be longer than the actual pattern, I had to do some adjusting. So I think that'll be fine. And then the sleeve, so yeah, I did the sleeve a couple of times. I think that'll be okay. And then I'll get the other sleeve done and then the front, and then stitch that up. So monkey is progressing slowly. And I think there were some other things that caught my attention, as is the way. Let's have a little pause and a coffee, and then you can tell me what you've been up to. Cool. So the other thing is I've been asked to make some frogs for a friend of mine, and I'm going to be making, so it's this book, it's the Bonnie the Cow and Friends, and it's Frankie. I've made one of these frogs before. I just put a little picture here, and I use the West Yorkshire Spinners yarn for that. That's a hand wash yarn. So as these frogs were going to be used, they were going to be used within a play setting, they needed to be, I wanted them to be able to be washed. So I went to a lovely yarn shop in Wedmore called Cosy Craft Shop, and I thought, right, I need to find some frog coloured yarn. So I picked this one. So this is a brilliant frog colour, I think. And it appealed to me because of its sustainable credentials. So I appreciate that this isn't made in the UK. I didn't really realise that before I bought this yarn. So I would like to know if there's similar yarn that's made in the UK that has these credentials and uses this technology. So this is called Loveful Bio Blend, and it's actually made with recycled, let's have a look. So it's got 20% wool and then 80% cyclo, recycled polyester, which is treated in some way which makes it break down the same way as wool. So this is a technology that's been developed not by Sherdar. I hopefully I've pronounced that properly. Some of you may be laughing at my pronunciation, so I do apologise. And I had a little look into it, but I haven't really delved very deeply, because I found, you know what it can be like. You think, oh, I'm going to investigate this, and then you're off all kinds of rabbit holes. So I try really hard not to do that. But I found that it was really nice. It felt really nice. And if it breaks down as it says it does, then it's not going to put any microplastics added into our environment. So that would be good. That would be good. So I got green for the body, and then I also bought some cream for the eyes. Even though the eyeballs aren't very big, I wanted to make sure I was using the same yarn for that. So I'll be casting that on at some point. So that will be a future project. So I've got that one to make. So that's crochet. And then knitting. So because I find sometimes if I'm spending too long crocheting, I get my hands hurt. I switched to knitting a little while ago. And the, oh, I need another pause. I need another coffee a minute. Okay, so knitting. There's a yarn shop I like to visit called Alternate Universe in Cleeve, and at the back they've got a barn which they sell off cheap knitting magazines, so old editions for like 20p, and different yarns and so on. And a while ago I bought a couple of old knitting magazines, and in one of them there was an advert for the most amazing knitted cardigan type jacket thing I'd seen. So I thought, wow, I need to find that pattern. So I found I bought an old, a back issue of it from Pocket Mag. So I bought the digital copy. And then when I was in Petersfield a little while ago, I found a hard copy of it. So it's The Knitter, and it's issue number 146. So you can get this as a back copy on Pocket Mags, or there's other places you can get it. And you can also get the pattern by the designer, Jennie Atikson. Let me just find the jumper, cardigan. Okay, you ready? How cool is that? I mean, it's just, oh, I can kind of pretend maybe I'm wearing it. It's just amazing. And I just absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. So because I'd got so this version is written to make it in 2 pieces with the seam at the back. And then I did a bit of research and I found that the designer, Jennie Atikson, had, since this was published, so this magazine, I think this was 2020, I think. Could be wrong, could be wrong. She had since written the pattern to make it in 1 piece. So I thought, oh, that's really interesting. And also with long sleeve version, which is here. So there's the longer sleeve version, and then there's the back as 1 piece. So I got a copy of that version as well, and because I thought I'd quite like to do it as 1 piece rather than having the seam up the back. And I've started. I already had lots of the West Yorkshire Spinners Elements yarn because I went a bit crazy a couple of years ago, and I bought pretty much all the colours that were available at the time, even though I had no idea what I was going to do with the yarn. I decided I needed to have every colour that they made, and yeah, went a bit crazy. But that meant that I had yarn that I could make this cardigan with. So I used the yarn substitute because this pattern actually calls for an Reconnecting yarn. Look. So the pattern calls for Reconnecting British Blue 100, which is a blue face Leicester wool. So I didn't want to buy any more wool, I wanted to use what I had. So I looked up the yarn substitute website, and quite a few West Yorkshire Spinner yarns came up. This one wasn't on the list, but I realised that it had the same tension, and it had similar, what's the word? Oh, my mind's gone blank. Characteristics. It had similar characteristics to the blue-faced Leicester. And I also emailed Jennie, who very kindly replied to my email and about whether this yarn would work, and she said, yeah, it would be a good substitute. So that encouraged me to do it. So I haven't knitted anything like this before. I'm still learning how to knit patterns and read patterns, but I just loved it so much. I thought I really got to learn how to make this. So as you can see, the excitement for this sort of overshadowed monkey for now, but I'll get back to monkey. So far I've done the first part of the sleeves. So that's the bit, you do 2 bits like this, and then you join it all together, from what I understand. And I have, so here, I didn't have an 80 centimetre cable, but I had 100, and that was okay. So I'm using that. And so far I've done two lengths, 2 rounds, 2 rows of the bottom. I'm a very slow knitter, so this may take me a while. Hopefully it's not going to take me 4 years like the cardigan I crocheted for Richard. I really want to be able to wear this. But also I'm making sure that it's going to fit me. And in the process of doing that, I've been looking at lots of different YouTube videos, and the Elizabeth Zimmerman techniques come up. So I was utilising that to make sure that the measurements were going to fit. So I think it's going to be okay. And also this pattern calls for short rows, and that's something I've never done before. So that also warranted a bit of a research. and that brought up a really great tutorial from Roxanne Richardson, who's got a fantastic YouTube channel. I think you should check her out. She did a brilliant project a few years ago now, where she knitted an item of clothing from each of the centuries, and there's some amazing patterns. She made this most amazing Edwardian jacket with the billowing sleeves and everything. Yeah, it's really cool. I'll put the link in below to go and check that out. It's really interesting, and that's been really helpful, so I'll be definitely using that as I get to those parts with this. So this is a longer term project. Hopefully I will make it though this year, so I can actually wear it this year. That would be nice. So that's the plan. So that's coming along. And as I was doing this and oh, coffee time. As I was doing this and looking at other resources, it occurred to me to share that one of the brilliant resources I use a lot for knitting and crochet and for other art, there's a lot of art books on there, is called Internet Archive. So you might already be familiar with this and you might already use it, but if not, I would really recommend going and checking it out. It's a free online library. So you need to register as if you were registering for a library, and you get a digital account, and then you can go in and there's thousands and thousands of books from different decades that have been uploaded and digitized so that you can read them online. And there's quite a few of the Elizabeth Zimmerman books on there, which is where I started reading her books. There's loads of knitting from the 70s and older. So I came across a knitting book from the 1800s, and it's just absolutely fascinating. I do know that they have had some issues with having to remove books, and there's also ongoing challenges I think at the moment with AI, but for now it's up, it's running, it's working, so do check it out. I've put the link down below for it, and then I've also done a little video showing how to access the site and all the kinds of things that you can find on there. Hope you enjoy that, hope you find that helpful. Let me know if you already use Internet Archive, and also any other knitting, crochet, arts resources you'd recommend to check out. It's a great, I love it. I love it. Of course, it can be a bit of a rabbit hole, as lots of these things can be, but if I'm focused and careful, then I am able to just use it for what I'm looking for. Although not, let me think, is that a regular thing? Probably not. Not all the time. So I wanted to talk about Internet Archive, which is a fantastic free resource. And as you can see, it's a non-profit library, millions of texts, movies, software, music, websites, and more. So I use it mainly for books, but I'll just show you what's available on here. So it's an online library, really. You have to sign up for a free account to be able to borrow books, and often you can borrow the books for, say, 7 days, or some of the books you can borrow indefinitely. There's also a library of sound here, look. Well, let's just click on that and have a look at that a minute. A whole load of things. But like I said, I tend to use it for books. So I'm going to go back to the home page, and then I'm going to search, say, knitting. and then it will bring up all the different types of knitting, and you can filter here just books, magazines, and you can also choose a year. So if you wanted to say, look for knitting books in the, let's see, how far back does it go? 50s, 70s, 50s, 20s, 1581. Well, let's have a look at that one. Second part of Knitting Up, book 1581. Okay, so I'll take that off. And if you want to borrow something, let's just pick, scroll down here and see what we've got. Okay, how about this one? Ultimate Sock Book. So it shows you here you can borrow it, and also where you can buy the book. Quite often what I do is I'll use the Internet Archive to look at books, and then I might think, actually, I do want a physical copy. So I'm going to borrow this book. My internet's a bit slow. And then you can read it. And you can change the settings here, visual adjustments. So if you want to change the brightness, make it a bit brighter, easier to read. If you want to change the contrast, do that there. Oh, cool, it's got a bit of history. It's a bit too bright. Let's adjust that. There we go, that's a bit easier to read. And you can zoom in, and you can change the thumbnail view if you want to skip through it. Cool, there's loads of interesting. And then I've also got it on a favorited, but I'm going to add it to a list. So I've got a few different lists here. And I've got favorites, so you can go and have a look at favorites. And this is where I've saved all my, so there's a knitting book here from 1800. Elizabeth Zimmerman books, Fisherman's, North Sea, Ganseys, all kinds of things. Art books. So if you've not come across this before, so you can see I was looking at how to draw perspective. So I found some books on that. It's a really, really helpful resource to explore. This one I came across recently. So this one, it's just accessible, and you can actually download this as a PDF because it's such an old book. And it had something called a cloud. Where is it? Let's have a look. Gentlemen's over mittens. My fatigues. Here we go. Knitted cloud. And you can also search within a book. So let's have a look for cable. And then it comes up cables. You can click on that and it will open up the page. Yeah, hopefully that's helpful for you and that you have fun exploring all the books that are on offer, all kinds of resources really. Great, so that's me for this week. Like I said, I hadn't progressed as much as I'd hoped, but hey, this is what happens. It's fine, it's fine. I'm the only person that put this deadline on myself because I'd missed the deadline for Pamela's project anyway. I knew that I was going to be later doing it, and I think that yeah, I just keep carrying on with it, and there'll be a part 3 monkey. So I hope that you're doing okay. Let me know what projects you're working on, and I will see you again soon. Okay, bye for now.